Joining you from New York City, and we're going to take you on a journey across Africa. This is Africa. This is the rich culture, music that we find on the continent. I am going to be with the commit that has put this together. And I want to introduce you to the people behind the scenes, and they will share with us why they joined this Pan-African Mbira Festival and what they are trying to achieve. Welcome, Rapasa. Rapasa is in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. Jomo, hi, how are you? Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You're joining us from the US.
US, Dayton, Ohio.
Ohio. Great. And I'm going to introduce you to the man behind this whole idea. His name is Albert Chimedza, and he's in Zimbabwe. Albert, welcome.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you.
So we lost two members who, due to internet, are having issues connecting. But regardless of that, we are ready to go. Now, the clip that I just played, I'm going to share something with you. I grew up around that culture.
Oh.
Yes. My dad was a teacher, and he used to work for Tinto mines. And Tinto mines in the mining community in Zimbabwe, there's a huge culture of people who originated from Zambia, Malawi, and I think this culture is originally from Zambia and Malawi, the Nyaho dancers, right, Albert? Am I right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I can tell you that's not New York. That's probably Ohio with the sirens. It's now a familiar sound. Now, the reason why I'm talking about this brilliant culture, this is the idea of the Pan-African Mbira Festival, cross-pollination of cultures across the continent and outside in the diaspora. Now, let me go to you, Albert. What was the idea behind the Pan-African Mbira Festival?
Sorry?
What was the idea behind the Pan-African Mbira Festival?
The idea is very simple. It's just for us to know each other and to know a little more about our music, our culture. And I really honestly believe that we've all been talking about African unity and having all these big economic plans and political plans. But the one ingredient that's been left out is that for all this to work, we have to know each other. And I think that one of the most direct and continuous way that we have known each other is through music. So why don't we use music culture to know more about each other so that it becomes easier to deal with the other big ideas that the politicians are having? Because I think that without a cultural understanding and the cultural appreciation, it becomes very difficult to have political and economic unity. And
Brilliant.
so the idea behind the festival was really to have a platform where anybody anybody who plays music and wants to share the culture can come on board. And at its most basic, all they need is a cell phone, put it in front of them and say, this is who I am, this is my culture, and please share it with me.
Brilliant. I want to go to Rapasa. Rapasa, you are in the UK right now.
Yeah.
But you're originally from?
I'm originally from Kenya. To be specific, I'm from western part of Kenya. My hometown is Siaya County, from a small village called Asere Ulawe. This is in Ugenya. Yeah. Yeah, I'm based in the UK at the moment, but I do work from both UK and Nairobi.
Okay, and
yes.
My question to you is the Pan-African Bira Festival. Why did you join it?
I believe in unity, and for us to try and understand what is happening in the region. I believe that that can't happen if we are not united and we don't know what each other is doing in their respective regions. So that is the first thing. The second thing, I'm also interested into learning how we can have a we can build on sustainability through playing music. You know, why can't I live with playing music? That's a big question that goes into my head when as an artist. The third thing why I'm also here is I'm always questioning why am I not able to tell my story my way? Why is someone able to tell or to stand to wear my shoes and tell my story? You know, what am I lacking that I can't stand and tell my African story, the story where I come from? So these are the qualities. When I'm at Mbira Festival, I put them before me. And I'm hoping that maybe they're gonna get answered or not. It's not there's no rules, so this is why I'm here. I need to get an idea of how we can do this.
Yeah, in your own voice, in our own voices, we want to tell our stories.
Yes.
Okay. Now, let me introduce the next person, who is Jomo. Jomo, you are in the US, you are in Ohio. Pan-African Bira Festival. What does that mean to you? And why are you in it?
Well, you know, the Mbira, I've been involved with Mbira for many years, and it seems like the most prevalent way that people see it is they don't see it. They say, "Oh, that's what it looks." I've heard that sound before, but they've never seen the instruments. And there's a really wonderful culture of people here who are really inspired by African music, African dance and drumming, but there's not a visibility of the other instruments that come from the continent and come from our people all across the diaspora. So this is just an opportunity just to become more visible to our culture. You know, there's a lot of African Americans still call themselves, you know, I'm American, I'm not African. You know, that's still something that's going on even today. But the awareness is really growing. You know, over the years, things have really started to pop, and it's just wonderful that we can put this together and maybe share with people across the world that, you know, we're here and we have this great culture and we have all this wonderful music to share.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go back to you, Albert, because I do understand that for us as Africans and for Pan-African Bira Festival, the connection is a very important thing. And even though it's called the Pan-African Bira Festival, are we necessarily just talking about Bira music? Okay.
I'm listening.
Yeah, my question is
Hello?
this, my question to you is this about the Mbira music only? The Pan-African Mbira
No, I think
Festival.
I think that the music is a tool for better understanding. You'll find that in most African countries, people don't even know what's happening next door. If you ask the average African person, can they name you 3 or 4 songs or 3 or 4 instruments or 3 or 4 dishes from their neighboring country? Most likely they won't. And yet we all know a lot more about what's happening in Europe or America than we know about what's happening on our own continent. And I still maintain that if we want to achieve the goals that we want to achieve as a people, the first step is to know about each other, appreciate each other. Can you imagine if I'm, I don't know, in a delegation from Zimbabwe and I'm going to Ivory Coast or Chad, and I know nothing about the people. I don't even speak any language. I don't even know what language they speak. I don't even know what music they play. How do you think that I'm going to have a successful meeting that will actually produce some unity and some understanding? It's going to be very difficult. And the pattern at the moment is that we all know more about the colonial powers that were involved in running these countries than we know about the people that we are always talking about wanting to unite with. And it's the same outside Africa. It's the same. I mean, outside reggae and jazz and blues, we actually know very little about Black people that live outside the continent. There are even countries through this festival I'm discovering, there's a large Black community there. They have a Black culture that they've had for hundreds of years. We don't know any of this.
Yes.
And I think if we don't know each other as people, a lot of our dreams and hopes and aspirations are just going to go to waste because we haven't taken the effort to know about each other. We can know each other in IMF terms and World Bank terms and in economic terms and in spreadsheets and all that. But if we don't know each other as people, it doesn't mean anything.
So true.
Yeah. I guess it goes back to what Rapasa is saying, that in our own words, in our own voices, we need to communicate who we are and what we want.
Yes, that's very important, Savannah, because historically, most of the way we've been known by the rest of the world is by other people coming and documenting us. And we've never created platforms where we tell the other world who we are and what we are in our own terms and in our own voices. And I think that for us at the festival, it was a deliberate effort to invite people to use cell phones, because we thought that a cell phone is a very empowering instrument at this point in time. And we've actually seen world events that have happened just because somebody had a cell phone. And so I'm thinking, why can't we harness the power of the internet and the power of the cell phone to do things that benefit us instead of just chatting and greeting each other and insulting each other and showing off what, clothes you bought yesterday, or, I think that we have a very powerful tool that we're underestimating. And I think that at this point in history, the technology is there for us to express ourselves in the way that we want to be seen. We don't have to go to a famous university or library or meet a famous scholar anymore to explain us to the world. I think we can do it ourselves. We just need to film ourselves and put it on the internet. And I think that's a very liberating feeling.
Yeah, I think that's a revolution. I don't know. I think Rapasa can speak more to the younger generation right now. How important it is. Yeah, because it's important if we want this culture to move and pass on from us to the next generation, to involve the young. Is that not correct?
I think that's correct, but there's some terminologies or some words, like for example preservation. I think it's a good word, but sometimes how we receive it or how we tend to use it uh, creates some like walls, and it's hard to go through it some point, because when you say like for example, I'm preserving a tradition, am I just preserving it for myself, and it's not going out? How is this information passed to other people? So I think we need to find ways of letting other people also know what we are doing, and let other regions also come into us. I know there's a level of how sensitive you let someone into your culture or into a tradition. This is something also very important, because it's not easy for me to just walk out of Kenya and go to China and learn a tradition that is it's another scenario compared to them coming to learn what we call our culture. So these are things that we need to know how we can teach or how we can go about them. Another thing is formality. What Albert is saying, yeah, we tend to put our head into this space of a standard form, a standard formality of how to do things. I don't think there's that way that someone has to decide, oh, this is a standard way of doing this, or this is a way of doing. I think we have to find a way that works for us, a way that works for me to pass an information to a 10-year-old kid, or to a 50-year-old person. So we need to find ways of how to work around this. Then it will give us that it will give us access to getting people to us, and also us going to other people. So that is what I can add on that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to catch Gerald while we still have him. Welcome, Gerald. Yeah. Hi, Gerald. Okay. I think he's frozen right on the screen. But as soon as I can grab Gerald, Gerald is joining us from Nigeria. So I really, really want to capture on his perspective before we lose him again because of network. But the amazing thing that Albert is saying, which I want to zoom into, is the liberation of the so-called production houses, where musicians used to have to have a lot of money to produce a video, to produce a song, to do all these things. But social media has kind of liberated it. It has simplified everything. Now, with the use of your cell phone, you can capture. This is what we have been noticing with what Albert has created here, and the rest of the team have created here, which says we do not want a produced video. We want to see you. We want to hear you. We want the rest of the world to see what you have from wherever you are. Just turn on your cell phone. Right?
Yeah.
Albert?
Yeah. The other thing that's important about this is that if you go on the internet, until very recently, most articulation about Africa was from foreign websites. And so the digital footprint or the internet footprint of Africa has always been spoken by people who could afford a cell phone, could afford airtime and bandwidth and all this stuff. And that's becoming cheaper and cheaper. And so I think by having this kind of a platform, the African internet footprint can be stronger, because more people will share and post and view and everything. Until a few years ago, if you type Mira, the first few entries that you saw were all foreign. And there were all other people articulating your culture from their point of view. And I think with the technological changes, and also actually ironically because of COVID-19, people are using the internet more in a way that they didn't use it before. They're using it to go to school, to get entertained, to shop, to do all these things. So it's actually made the internet something that people use more as part of their daily life as opposed to amusement. And so I think that it's an opportunity that we can use to make sure that we have a digital footprint, that we don't need a publisher to give us authorship of our own ideas, you know, because once something goes on the internet, everybody can find it and everybody knows it was initially posted by these people. They're from Africa. This is what they have to do. And I think even in terms of recording our own history, the internet has offered new possibilities that were not possible before. I mean, I remember when I used to write scripts, it probably used to cost thousands and thousands, if not $10,000 to develop a project, because you had to type the thing. If there were any corrections, you had to get a typist to retype, and then you had to send the stuff by DHL, and then the other guy made changes, and you brought it back, and you changed. And all that has disappeared. So maybe something that cost $30,000 now costs, I don't know, $1 to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think this is an incredible power that we, you know, if you remember the days of the telex, the fax machine.
Oh my God.
The telegram. You know, that's how long it used to transmit information.
Yeah.
Now, a guy in a village can just, if he can't use the phone, he can call his son and say, this is the story of my life. Let me tell it to you. And the son can put it on the internet, and then the history is captured.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's amazing from the submissions that we are seeing for the Pan-African Beer Festival. The focus.
Sorry, Savannah, to interrupt.
Yes.
Going back to where we are now and what we do, we could teach other how to play an instrument worldwide.
Yes.
Using the internet.
Yes. From
you know,
from
Rapasa could sit there and teach me how to play Nyatiti if I had one.
Yes.
And this is something that never happened before.
Yeah.
And I think this is a power that we are not harnessing enough. Kids can learn a language, like Rapasa's kids are in the UK now. He can just have them talk to their grandmother every week, and they're going to be connected and learn the language and the culture and know who else is family without ever having to buy an airplane ticket and go there. And to me, this is incredible, really.
It is.
Especially
it is
for
incredible.
music education. I think there's so many ways that Africans could teach each other using phones.
Yes. I mean, it's amazing how this is liberating. And if you talk about the teaching, because immediately what comes into my mind about this liberation is that we do not have to export tourism to be the ones who are touring the rest of the world, but the rest of the world can now come into our continent and participate without. Hold on, let me just add Albert back. I think he got kicked out.
I'm back.
All right. So what I'm saying is, Albert, this is amazing. You're right, because it doesn't just liberate us in how we communicate as a family and things like that, but for the artist who is in Africa, and they don't have to wait for someone to find a sponsor to bring them to Europe, but they can bring Europe to their doorstep, and we don't have to export by going out. Tourism can come into our doorsteps by the use of the cell phone. Right.
I'm afraid you were breaking up, so I couldn't really hear everything you were saying.
Okay. Let me repeat this. I was just articulating on your point of how the cell phone, the internet has liberated the African who is an artist trying to share their work to the rest of the world. Now, it's very costly and expensive to leave the continent. You have to find someone to sponsor you to go into Europe or to the Americas to get a show or something like that. But now you don't have to do that. You can teach, like you're saying, from your home. People can tune into the culture through the internet, and it gives the power back to the artist and how they can control their own destiny. Is that not right?
Mhm.
Jomo, do you want to add on to that? Since you are out of, I lost Albert a little bit. So since you are out of, you're on in America, and you've seen this process going on and on and on, where Africans come into the US, and they come in, they go on a tour, they are teaching music or whatever it is they're doing, they earn a few money and they go back.
Yeah. The biggest problem is, for instance, a lot of the musicians, the reason why the African American community does not know that much about the Zimbabwe music is because the people who can afford to bring them here, they bring them in to teach their little groups. And they're not here long enough to do any traveling and understand that there's African Americans here who would love to know more about the music, but they come in and they're shared with the small groups, and then they go back, and they have no contact with our culture. They don't even know that we have we have a very robust African community here. You know, African American community. We're not that much different from you guys on the continent, but people who are brought here to perform and to entertain are brought here and then sent right back. You know, they don't have any interaction. And the thing that I'm seeing more and more is I've got a recording studio, and nowadays most of my interaction with musicians are across the internet. I send them music and they record and they send it back to me. Well, we can do that worldwide, you know. And like Albert was saying, you know, just a cell phone nowadays has like changed the whole scope of how we can communicate with each other. And I just want to see it happen more, you know.
Yeah. And whose responsibility is this to open up, to push the culture, the narrative that we want? Whose responsibility is it? I'm not sure if Gerald is not frozen right there. Gerald, hi, you're back.
Hi.
So before we lose you again, Gerald, I want us to, you're in Nigeria. Hello? Okay, I think he's
back now.
Yeah, Albert, you're back. Gerald, I think he's frozen again. I wanted to zoom in with Albert and get his perspective before we lose him again, but I think we already lost him. But Albert,
yeah, I'm on.
Yeah, I can hear you. I was talking about Gerald because I wanted to capture Gerald before we lose him again, but I think we lost him. But Albert, did you catch what Jomo was talking about?
I heard the bit that when we go there, we don't really meet the Black community, and that we're not aware that there's a very vibrant Black community that connects with Africa. Is that correct, Jomo?
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I heard.
So in essence, I mean, you can say it for yourself, Jomo, instead of me saying it for you. What you're saying is that because of the way whoever sponsors has their own platform that they are working towards, because they've put their money and it's usually in silos going into little groups, and that's how the music comes. And then after they feed those little groups, they are shipped back, and that's the end. Yeah. It's not an open market like what the internet is doing right now? Is that what you're saying? The internet is now an open market where it's open to anyone who has access to internet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's more than that. It's just that I think historically how.
Okay, go ahead, Jomo, while Albert is coming back.
Yeah, you know, like they remember they used to have this thing called the Zim Fest, and that was located up on it was a festival, a really huge festival, and it was on the West Coast. It was up in Oregon sometimes, even in British Columbia, and you know, so it was totally away in the woods, in areas that totally away from the inner city or even the major cities, and these were huge festivals that generated a lot of money for the people who were sponsoring it. And then in turn, a lot of the European people learned how to play the imbira, way before we did. There's only I can think of maybe a handful of African Americans who play this instrument, and but yet there's thousands of imbira players from Europe and all across the world.
And Jomo, without us talking about the other connections, I want you to tell me what are your thoughts in terms of the African American community, how we can expose them more to the music. What are your thoughts? How do you think we can do it? Because I think it's up to us to create those channels. And this is part of what the Pan-African Beer Festival is all about. It's setting the trend, the road, and saying, listen, you can get it from the source. You don't have to get it from a third party.
Mm-hmm. We have to get onto the major platforms. That's what it's all about. The platforms that people listen to, the radio, TV, and now the internet, are the platforms that we have to become, very active on, and that's happening. I think this festival here is amazing. How many people that didn't know about, the imbira are coming to me saying, "Wow, that's so cool!" They a lot of people. I'm the only person they know plays imbira, and it's not even a Zimbabwean imbira. I started off playing an imbira that is basically a tourist imbira from different countries. The tourist version, because I didn't have access to the real stuff, and so it's all about a matter of exposure, and we need to get on to the same platforms that the general public is using, and that's happening now.
Okay, let's get back to Albert before you got dropped. He was you wanted to say something, Albert.
Sorry?
I said before you got dropped, you were about to speak and expand on what we were talking about. The idea that when we ship our culture from Zimbabwe or from the continent, and whoever is sponsoring, we channel where it goes and how it goes. But we could open it up by.
That's normal.
Yeah, it's normal, and there's nothing wrong with that.
If
but
you put out the money, you want the good. So
yes,
it's the responsibility on us to put up the money.
That's what I'm saying. So now we are saying that there's the Pan-African Beer Festival that is liberating all that. It's opening it up on the internet. So. It is.
It is. It really
because
is.
You can tell with the submissions, you can tell with the engagement that has been happening for the past few days since it started. It's amazing. It's incredible. The traction is real. And from across Go ahead.
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, I've learned a lot from this. I've learned things I didn't even know that I had to learn from just, talking to people in 19, 20 countries, meeting different personalities, understanding how the different countries work in terms of correspondence, and knowing about the connectivity of each country. So I think that the festival is not really just about the music. I think you really get to learn or to know a little more about other people than you could, And I think that, see, all this stuff, this talk about money is that when the interest in African culture happened in the West, it was not generally by people, it was by institutions. So it was either missionaries or anthropologists or governments that wanted to change some social setup. But I always wondered what would have happened if real musicians had come to Africa and discovered these instruments and fall in love with them. I think the whole story about how we interact with the rest of the world would have been very different. I mean, can you imagine if Miles Davis discovered mbira, or Scott Joplin discovered mbira, or if we would go way back, if Chopin decided, I like mbira, I like this instrument, because their approach would not be to look at it as an ethnographic thing. It would be to look at it as a tool that they can use in the work they already do. But most of what I've observed of people who come here to learn mbira, it's kind of exotic. I want to learn something that nobody else in my place learns. I want to learn, I love the music, of course they do. But honestly speaking, I think that if the people that introduced mbira to the West were different kind of people, not better, not worse, not anything, but just different. Because usually a very good musician thinks about music. He doesn't think about the culture. So if Jomo gives me his mbira, I don't ask him where it came from or what his grandmother used to play. I just learn to play the instrument and they play the music. And I think that creates a whole different dynamics. To me, I could be wrong, but for me, the whole African instruments thing in Europe and America is kind of a form of tourism. I'm not saying some of the people who learn the mbira are not musicians, but the whole culture around it is really about culture as opposed to music. And so generally, African music has been seen as having no authorship, as having no documentation, and quite often people get very angry when you try to change the music or to try new things. They go, no. But in your tradition, it's played like this. Why are you changing the music? Why are you doing this? And my attitude is always, if I don't change it, somebody will change it.
Yeah.
And so I think the context within which African music was introduced to the rest of the world has had a large bearing on the interactions that we have, including the fact that the major market for most African traditional musicians is to go to Europe, because we never had a history where it was about composition, it was about collaboration, it was about writing down the music, trying new ideas. And I'm just hoping that there will be a time when really serious musicians can engage with the instruments as musical instruments. So for example, when I teach people mbira, I tell them, you don't have to learn anything about my tradition. You don't have to learn anything about my culture. Just learn how to play the instrument. And if you can come up with your own music, then the instrument is richer because it's found a new vocabulary. It's getting, the instruments gets richer, but if you look at it as an instrument and not as a culture, I'm not saying that there's something wrong with culture. I'm just saying most musicians, you don't touch a guitar and want to learn about Spanish history. You don't touch a piano and start to learn about Italian history. You don't get an organ or I don't know what else, a violin, and do it in the original cultural context. You say, I like this thing, you learn how to play it, and you express yourself with that instrument. And I think that if this process happens in the Black community, we're going to have new genres of reggae, new genres of jazz, new genres of blues, new genres of Afrobeat. You know, one of the things I've learned in this festival is actually, probably, I could be wrong, outside the drum, I think that the mbira is the most widespread instrument on the continent.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The music is so rich that almost every country has got totally different music. But none of our musicians have invested in saying, how do they play mbira in the Congo? How do they play mbira in DRC? How do they play it in Tanzania? How is it played in Mali? And I think this is what, because of the background of having anthropology and academia and religion be the drivers of how African music was spread, it's tend to be ethnicized in the sense that people say, oh, this is a Shona mbira, this is a Tanzanian mbira, it's a Sanza, you know, and they have only this music. And if you depart from that, you're changing. But that's restricting the culture. Because the music that we hear now, that our ancestors played, was contemporary music at the time they were playing it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I think we owe it to our ancestors to contribute to this body of music and create new music and use it as a map of how across the globe we've transcended.
Yes.
You know, because I think music records our cultural journey.
Yes.
And I think one of the cultural journeys that has to be articulated is how musically we've interacted over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And this will help to further the feeling of connection and togetherness and oneness that we're all yearning for, but haven't been able to find a way to do. And I think really music is one of the, I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's the way that I know how to do. And this is how I want to do it.
Brilliant.
You know, one of the big things that I've had to deal with is the fact that when I play music, when I first started playing mbira, I was playing a one that was basically just a modal mbira. It was only in one key, and where all the musicians around me were playing chromatic instruments where they could just play in any key they wanted to. And so I got to the point where I said, well, I love my mbira. I love it. I love the mbira, but I want to play with everybody else too. So I had to take the traditional mbira and make it into a chromatic instrument just so I could play in this culture, for instance, you know? And a lot of people don't understand that, you know, like a lot of drummers who come from Africa and come to the US and they teach people how to play from their culture, from their tradition. And then people here get ingrained in this is the only way, that rhythm is the only way you can play it is like this. But they don't realize that that rhythm is played in different countries. They call it the same thing, but it's played differently. And then the people who bring it here to us, they have their own style of doing it, you know? So it's not so much that tradition is not this rigid thing. It's something that evolves, you know? Every person who becomes an ancestor, their contribution becomes part of tradition. That's the way I feel. And we have to take what we do and make it part of the tradition so that when people come behind us, they'll look at us and say, oh, yes, so this is, but there's a whole series of how the tradition has evolved. You know, it's not just this stagnant thing that has been done for thousands of years, and that's the only way it's done.
Okay. So sorry, but I have Gerald joining in right now. I wanna see if we can speak to him before he gets cut off. Gerald, hi.
Right.
Hi, Gerald. Okay, I think we don't have it. Gerald, hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Before we lose,
Gerald, ooh,
Yay.
Gerald, ooh.
finally, before we lose you, I want you to tell me why you joined the Pan-African Beer Festival and you are in Nigeria. And I want you to explain your thoughts into how we can interact the diaspora and the continent in terms of our music, our instruments and culture.
I said how I joined the Pan African Festival. Can you rephrase the question?
Okay. What was your reason for joining the Pan African Beer Festival? What were you what were you hoping to achieve with the Pan African Beer Festival in terms of what their mandate is? Okay. We may have lost him again.
Okay.
All right. Let's get back. Let's get back to the conversation we were having. I think we lost him again. He's frozen. Yeah. Rapasa.
Yes.
You are the next generation.
Yes, our future.
I'm the next generation. Yeah. I've had a bit of my own, like an individual challenges around as a musician, but what I'm noticing through the journey or through the process is the importance of doing networking collaborations, because with collaboration it frees your mind, it opens your mind, and you break out of this shell, like what Jomo is saying. You have your instrument and you meet this musician, or you're in the space where people are playing chromatic. People are playing chromatic scales, and you're stuck on this minor pentatonic scale. You can't move. People are moving. People are changing from certain time signature to another one. So, and if you don't do this cross collaboration with other people, then you are stuck. You can't move. So there's the beauty of that. But for me, before you get into that so much, for me there's the importance also of understanding the instrument, how the instrument works. Yeah. Which I tend a bit to contradict myself there with what Albert says, that you can just pick the instrument and of course express yourself. I have those moments where this is the time and I have to play this song or this tune, and if I present it tomorrow, it has to be different. It's different, and that's how it works for me. Why I say that? Because then you kind of build, you have a base, you have somewhere where you always go. I call it home. I always go there and say, how is this thing done, or how is this technique, how do I come about with this information? Then from that, it's my source where I tend to pick up what I need to use when I'm in certain space. Why I'm saying this is my instrument is a very, very polyrhythmic instrument. It has a lot of things that happen at the same time. It's a solo instrument. I am the drummer. I am the one who plays the strings. I sing at the same time. Now you get into a space where you are not allowed to sing. You're only allowed to play maybe mid, like a mid, two strings. Yeah. And if you can't, if you don't have the knowledge of how the instrument functions, then you kind of find yourself in a very, very not a very beautiful space. That is in that sense. But I've built I'm building the space where I want to break out of the shell, and I'm free to always question what I'm doing, especially when I'm with other people, when I'm with a different audience, because also that is a big thing. My African audience is totally different. My diaspora audience is also totally a different thing. In Kenya, I can spend 1 hour with only 2 tunes or 3 tunes, but you cannot do that. You can't do that in diaspora.
Right.
You need to do this in 2 minutes. And how do you do it? How do you engage other people? So we have to as instrumentalists, or as an artist who is working out this, you need to really understand what you're doing in that context, so that it allows you to breathe. It allows you to continue creating work. If yeah, that's on that. Another thing that I've picked out from Jomo is which is also very important, is to be visible. We must take advantage as a new generation. I want to take advantage of the internet. Really, very, very, and it's very, very serious for me. And the why I say that is because I learned my playing of the instrument under a tree, and there was no formal way of teaching me. And I did a lot of observations, and I did a lot of repetition, and that's how I learned my basic. But also, it's because it explains a lot about that tradition, the stories, what's happening. So it's a mix of not playing just the instrument, but also understanding how that tradition lives. Why am I going back to that? Because my teachers, or the mentors who did that to me, they didn't have that access of working around the internet. So I really want to take advantage of that and make sure that this one gives me that space of people noticing or knowing what I'm doing. So I want to record. I want to record. I want to document or do videos. And as I continue working around, I continue meeting people. I see how people work. I see what people do. How do I put that into my space? How do I work around with it? So being at Mbira Festival, for example, is a very good opportunity. I know, I'm just knowing that Jomo has a studio, and now I'm able to send files to Jomo so that Jomo can do something and send them somewhere, so I can have access to a festival if we will go back to our normal life, which I don't know when it will happen. So with the situation of the corona, also, like what is happening, I mean, we can still take advantage of the internet and see how it helps us as a new generation. So
yeah,
so it's very important.
Yeah, I think that's the new normal now. This is why even I think Albert can tell us what gave birth to the Pan-African Beer Festival, right? Because things are changing, and this is the new normal. The internet is here, and it's here to stay, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, basically, if COVID hadn't happened, I think I was planning on doing this project like in a year or two from now.
Mm-hmm.
But then I realized that all the dynamics had changed, and that probably people are not going to travel for the next year or two. Or if they were, it's going to be very difficult. And also all the visa regimes have changed dramatically now. So I think it's much more difficult for people to travel, and it costs more for them to get all their paperwork and their vaccinations and their tests and everything.
Yeah.
And so instead of me seeing the internet as a temporary measure, I decided that maybe this is the way to go. This is the future. This is what we have to do. The other thing is that as you export your culture, it does not mean that you're going to give up your culture.
Yes.
I think that all the cultures have different platforms at which they express themselves. So if Rapasa, for example, decides to play with a rock band,
yes,
it doesn't mean he stopped playing traditionally. And when he goes to his village, he's going to play what is expected there.
Yes.
But I think that sometimes us as Black people feel so vulnerable. We think our culture is so fragile that to do anything else is going to destroy it. I think that's just a lack of faith in ourselves. I think our culture is robust, and it can equally engage with other musical cultures and produce new things without losing where it comes from and who it is. I don't know that the entertainment world is going to change, and my feeling is that if we don't embrace the internet, we're going to be left out.
Yes.
This is what I think.
Yes. Amazing. And I think you're so right, because that our culture is resilient. It has been on the continent for years and centuries. It was under attack, but it still stood. We are now outside the continent. We go into the diaspora. It's like you rightfully put it in another conversation we had. African Americans did not lose their culture, but they held on to what they had, and it evolved into something beautiful. Look at what Brazil has. Look at what the Haitians have. Look at what the African Americans have. It's also incredible, but it's also influenced by where they came from. So we got to have more faith in ourselves. We have 1 more minute left to an hour. So I don't know where time went.
Savannah.
Yes.
That word faith is a very complex word. I think at this point, as we continue working and with this generation, I think we should eliminate the word faith. I think we need just to work smart, you know. I mean, we've been hanging on the faith for so long, you know. I don't know how Jomo, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the understanding of faith on others, but for me, it's not based on religion. Faith for me is based on my belief, on my understanding and understanding my ability. That's the faith that I'm talking about. The faith of understanding that I am capable. I am, and I have the ability to do something. Believing in myself. That's the faith I'm talking about. So I'm not sure if Albert or you guys agree with what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the faith based on religion or saying that God will provide. No, I'm talking on faith based on believing in yourself, understanding your capabilities, and understanding that this is and it will be and it can happen.
Okay.
Agreed.
Albert, you want to say something? While we wrap this up,
no, I think that, sorry. Yeah, I think that one of the biggest problem is that we've made to believe that our cultures are very fragile and that they cannot sustain any other cultural influences. And yet the evidence points out that Black culture has actually, over the years, has permeated a lot of other cultures. You know, Western culture, there's African influences in like Eastern music, like in Indonesia, some of the instruments they play there. But somehow we've been always made to feel that our culture is vulnerable and is fragile and it must be protected and it mustn't change. I really honestly don't think that's the thing. So I think that we should take it on and say our culture is strong enough to do whatever it wants on the global platform. And so that we become authors of the change instead of reacting to other cultures.
All right. Jomo, give us your
you know,
15
for example,
seconds.
I'll give you an example, Savannah. If a child, you know, from Zimbabwe, if a child goes to England for 6 months, everybody's worried if they'll still be able to speak Shona when they come back. Now, to me, that's incredible because there's no Indian person or Chinese person or British person who would be afraid that their child would lose their culture because they went to Zimbabwe for 6 months. And that's a state of mind. That's just a lack of belief and strength in our own culture. Yes. And I think part of this thing that we have on this festival is that we're gonna, sorry, there's a message there. engage with Mira. Do you feel that enough diaspora land or engage with Mira? No, definitely not.
Yeah.
but I think that a lot of it has to do with us feeling powerful enough to say that we are the masters of our own culture and the masters of our own destiny, and that if it's going to change, it's in our power to change it. And if it's going to interact, it's going to interact on our own terms. And we shouldn't be afraid if a 5-year-old kid starts to play hip hop on Mira. And we go, oh, this kid is lost. You know, if a kid wants to play jazz. Mm-hmm. And I think this thinking has been indoctrinated in us, that our culture must be preserved. My attitude is you only preserve things that are dying.
Yeah.
You don't preserve something that's alive. So when somebody suggests your culture has to be preserved, it means they're seeing it as dead.
You know, it's amazing
because you don't preserve living things. Living things are growing. They're organic. They change. They take new influences. They change them and they move forward.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing even coming through the whole slavery thing, you know, it's amazing how it's just seems like it's part of our DNA because we've come out of that and we're still African, you know. It's so amazing that even without a direct influence, we still do the same things. We still like the same rhythms, you know. It's in our DNA. That's just something that just transcends everything, you know. That's what's so incredible.
All right. So, guys, we are coming to the end of the show. And Rapasa, do you want to give us your 15 seconds thoughts while we close?
My 15 seconds thoughts is let's continue networking and sharing more love, more music, you know. Supporting each other, try to promote each other's work. I mean, of course, we've just talked about the internet. If somebody is doing something, you try and find out what they're doing, and if there's space on your page, you know, help them get their work out there. Help me get my work out there. So that's what I can say at the moment. Yeah, that's what we need at the moment. Keep pushing each other. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Jomo. Your 15 minutes thoughts.
Well, you know, I'm just amazed.
15 seconds, not 15 minutes.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'm just amazed that this festival has done what it's done. It's for me, it's everything and more than what I've dreamed it would do. So
yes.
I'm just blessed to be a part.
Great. Albert, your 15 seconds thoughts. Can you close this for us?
Lots of love, lots of communicating, lots of respect for our culture, a lot of confidence in our culture, lots of belief that we're all one family and that we'll get it right. Thanks very much, Savannah.
Ashe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. And I mean, it's incredible when we work together as a people and when we push for the same thoughts, for the same things. The Pan-African Beer Festival is going on until the 15th. If you find time, please share the videos, share what we are sharing on the platforms. We are going to take you through a journey through the continent and the diaspora. We are not we are showcasing the instruments, right, Albert? Instruments, music.
People have written papers. There's music. There's photographers doing stuff. For me, I think next week will be a surprise for a lot of people. There's quite a lot of stuff that we haven't shown yet. And, you know, part of it we thought maybe over the weekend and this weekend and next weekend, people have more time, you know, during the week they're in their offices.
Yes.
But fortunately, again, because of the internet, people can always watch us in a week or two, a month or 3 months. So
yeah, people always have access.
Right, exactly. So we're not really obsessed with hype and how many clicks we get in one day or anything. We want to hopefully lay a solid foundation that is decent enough for people to support us and grow with us.
The longevity of it all. Yes. Oh, thank you so much. And we will tune in next week and you know, see if we can have another conversation and build it more, because we need more conversation so people can understand what we are doing here and why it's being done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nematombo, Nondo, Mr. Playboy, stand up. Batai Hana, Batai Hana, Batai Hana, Batai Hana. Mwenda mberi, museamwa, otiziva, moyo ndishu, matemai, mwendisoko, mokuye mukono, sinyoro shumba. Yesai kushura baba, aiwa uko makata, pasha wedu apasa, tika usati warasa, rita waka chonjoma, mamsora ibana mama, gashirambe wazama, tika kunyora zama, kapsimbise ukama, musapute sasanda, une wako mkazana, mungwe chete pasana, piti kanana, mwenda mberi pachana, naziva tasangana, seha matawanana, takapira kare kushitaura, ngati chengete itika zedu zechivan, waka uya waka zishora, wona ndasa tiseserivan, uya nehanda nakakuvi chidzoka nasu kutisevana. Mwenda mberi, museamwa, otiziva, moyo ndishu, matemai, mwendisoko, mokuye mukono, sinyoro shumba. Tatano pinda Cape Town, wonotsiga hedu jecha, tukavasiya vachivenga, vakagara pajecha. Havandiziva, tatambonotiva, igara waziva, shaka inyure muziva. Rukupika moyo ndizvoko zviri kubva muhana, tarisai haso rangu mundipewo mukana. Vanogara vari out vana mashira pashe, ndimunona najera itaiti vafadze. Chikona ng'ombe nana humba, vataya masizira vanotiziswa mumba. Dodangwa namadhuve vanoziva shenzi vese hanzi, handei kumba tisachapedza mari yese gogogoe. Mwenda mberi, museamwa, otiziva, moyo ndishu, matemai, mwendisoko, mokuye mukono, sinyoro shumba. Hana soko muri say, kushungo muri say, mofu muri say.